Josh and Eric will bring us up to date on the plan for an addition to this building, bringing the courts and the judicial offices to this campus, and then creating one central secure entrance. There's a lot more to this initiative, but we'll let them fill us in. There you go.
Thank you. And thank you for having us. As business owners and community members, I'm here to tell you this is probably the biggest project the county's undertook in its history. And we're celebrating its 200th anniversary this month. And I'm excited about that. So if you'll please all stand. But by the way, they only gave us about 30 minutes. And I can't believe that you would give a politician whose great-grandfather was a Pentecostal preacher only 20 minutes to talk. Close your eyes. Now imagine you have to potty. And you can't. Why can't you? Because there's a situation that doesn't allow you to get into the restrooms. But you have to be in that government building. Now open your eyes. It's a reality. And as business owners, and those of us that don't have those disabilities, we should be outraged. I can carry. We should be outraged. I was elected commissioner, little naive, but everybody thought I knew what I was doing. For those of you who I had to rescue to get my lifeguarding license, I'm not allowed to say used to babysit me, because I have 2 babysitters in here today. I didn't realize when I became commissioner that I was in charge of all these buildings. And on behalf of Don Adams up north and Kenny Hale out west, we'd like to welcome you to our building. But it is our responsibility that our buildings are capable of serving the needs of the whole public. And we're behind. We've had 31 years to upgrade and we have not done that. And as a county councilman for 23 of the last 25 years, I failed. And you will not get very many politicians tell you that they have failed. And I'm going to try to right that. And as business owners, what would you do? I just think it's totally, because I own a business down the street. That's how I'm part of the chamber through H&R Block down the street. I have rules and regulations that I have to follow, so when one of those clients come in, they can go to the restroom. I became very upset, and I don't want to dwell on it because between all of us, we're just one lawsuit away from losing. It's a done deal. So, with the help of the council, and I have a council, are you the only council? Vicky will keep me in check, and I'm so happy Pam is retired to keep Bill in check. If you don't know Bill, I don't know where you're from. So anyway, long story short, please have a seat. I thought about if they would have let me have the floor before we start eating, just to make you eat the whole meal standing up, just to make it inconvenient for you. And we'll get into the financing, we'll get into the project, and I'll be quiet because of the time limitations. But that's the direction we're going. It's a work in progress because, well, just imagine if you had an older car and your tires weren't very good and you didn't have $125 for a new tire, so you go up to the junkyard and you get one that's bald. What's that bald tire going to do? It's going to wear out a lot faster, but you only paid $25, but it only lasts a month. So you go back up because you still don't have $125 and you get another bald tire. And another, and another, and another, and another. We've done that. And it's time not only to change the tire and get a new one, it's time to get a new car. A car that will serve your needs. A car that will allow you to make things better. So what we're going to present to you and what we've been working on for a couple years is a new judicial center. And I had someone tell me that it was kind of awkward on one of their greatest days. They were completing an adoption. They were adopting their child. And they said it's kind of awkward that you had to explain to the child who the people were in the orange jumpsuits. And in a courthouse that's 200 years old, well, 160 years old, 1857 to 1859, only 32,000. That's the accountant in me. You can't separate those walls. And this is the most cost-effective plan that we've come up with, but it's very costly. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ratz, but before I do, I'd like to point out to the school corporation that I'm a 1988 graduate. 86? 03. So you got, I had a good speech teacher. I don't know who these guys had for speech, so.
I had a good swim teacher.
Oh, absolutely. He literally tried to drown me, but that's another whole story that we don't have time for. But I'd like to present Mr. Eric Ratz. He's the architect behind all this, and we'll answer questions at the end. Mr. Ratz?
So thank you, Brian, Commissioner. So, I want to start off by saying one thing. Keith Gray is a cousin of mine, and we've done our genealogy, and I think that I'm very, very proud to say that my family has lived in Morgan County longer than it's been a county. We've had consecutive generations of folks living in the county, and so this project is as personal to me as there is anyone. So we're putting absolutely our heart and soul in everything that we do on this, because this is not just a generational building. This is a building that will last for many generations. So as Brian's talked about, this is truly a work in progress, because you're going to see that there's multiple steps to this project to make the overall evolution for this to work. So what happened was, back in this room in December of 2020, we had completed a planning study. And that planning study was to review all of the county-owned government buildings, which is the old Reporter building, the old Penny's building, now the Courthouse Annex, where the court services, the courthouse, and this building, to look at what are the program needs, what are the space needs, how much more space or less space do each one of those need. And it was a very diligent, took about 6 months to go through the full process, and we developed some concepts of what could be done. And also we looked at what a timeline for that was. And it was a process that included every office holder, every department lead, other people, commissioners, council. It involved a lot of people to be able to get to the point of where the council and the commissioners were going to move forward with the project. So when they decided to move forward with the project, Josh?
Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When we started, we were going to go the traditional route. You guys have all probably been familiar with how government entities just do work. They do a design, they work with an architect, they put it out to bid, and you don't know what you're going to get. To the credit of Commissioner Hale, he asked that we sit down with the team that does what's called BuildOperateTransfer. And really, it's a special procurement method that governments have been able to start utilizing in recent years. And what it has allowed us to do is, one, think bigger. When we first started with the study Eric talked about, I'm half ashamed to say, we were very limited in our scope. We did not have a real vision for what we needed to do. But this lot allows us to work and partner with a developer who has an architect on his team and a construction manager and all the people that are part of a team to help us think bigger than we can on our own. And so we started with, we were going to do a little work here and a little work at the courthouse. We're going to spend a lot of money, and we weren't going to accomplish a lot. But thankfully, through working with this team, we think we've come up with a far better plan than we ever could have on our own. We've been able to, what we think is going to save the taxpayer quite a bit of money. It eliminates a lot of the risk in this procurement method. We shift risk to another party, and ultimately it ended up in what you're going to see later today.
Yeah. So just real quick, Greg Marks, GM Development, does about, as his information notes, does about 91% of the bots in Indiana. There's been hundreds of them. DLZ, we've done dozens of these projects, as well as Meyer Najams, the construction manager that's involved, has also done dozens of these types of projects. And I think that, our team here, we've worked on other counties and other cities together and or municipalities here in Indiana, and it works very well. And I think it's something that's beneficial to the county very much so. So what did we do? We were hired as a team to come in and start looking at this overall project. And we re-engaged. We went back to the user groups, and I mean user groups as all the department heads, office holders, the elected officials, engaged everybody and had a lot of meetings with them. We then went back and we started thinking about big concepts. What are we going to do? Quite honestly, our first thought was, let's go add on to the courthouse. And then we started looking at all the logistic issues with that. With a driving force behind everything that we're doing is courthouse security and courthouse safety. It's when you bring those inmates, we've all seen it on TV, we've all walked around the downtown square. Dave Rogers and his staff, they bring up the transport van, they get the orange suits out, they walk them through the front door. Okay, you go to the historic courtroom on the second floor. Judges have to walk back, and jury have to walk through everyone that's the public, both sides of the public. It's where all the inmates are. It's very small, it's very congested. And as Brian talked about, our 1859, our beautiful, iconic courthouse, it just was not practical to be able to develop additions to be able to serve what those needs are. And we started doing our design charrettes in this room as well as other rooms of what all this could be envisioned. And we're going to be talking about that. Took building tours. We went and looked at other buildings of what have other counties done with their courts, what have they done with their administrative offices. Quite honestly, places that DLZ's designed and other buildings that DLZ's not designed, because we think we learned from every one of those. And then obviously over the last 2 years, we've had a lot of public meetings with commissioners and council to talk about this, and it's been in the newspaper many, many times with this. So